Welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic. Oh, hey, what's going on, everybody? There we go. There's Rob.
Yeah, we had a little problem starting the stream again. So I realized it early this time, at least, so we could get the stream going right. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about Biden and his more communist bullshit with this whole rent control proposition. We're going to be talking about Bill Gates gobbling up the farmland and how Snopes got it wrong, as usual, in their not quite fact checks. Can't call them fact checks when they always get the facts wrong or they leave out half the story. Funny considering they're always accusing other people of not telling the whole story or losing the context.
Right.
And then we're going to talk about the tanks going to Ukraine and the complications that's going to cause for the West and the problems that's going to cause for Ukraine. So before we really get into this topics, you know, we always go off the rails and we get lost. So want to make sure to remind you, hit the like, the subscribe, comment if you want to comment, so we can interact with you during the show. And don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified when we're going live. So I'm Rob B. With me as always,
Brad Lee.
And the Portly Pigeon is hopefully going to be coming along shortly here. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of it. So the first one, did you see what Biden's talking about here with this bullshit? So he's now talking about doing rent controls everywhere.
That's interesting. So what, universal rent? What does that mean? And how is that going to be enforced?
Yeah, well, so the reality is he can't do it. There's no way they're going to be able to do it. It's a horrible shit show in New York. People end up subletting the apartments out, end up there for years. So basically it ends up only being a problem for the landlords. Okay. And then they end up calling the landlords slumlords because they don't have any money to upgrade the apartments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and anytime they want to do the repairs, they try and evict the people and they can't evict them so they can do the repairs. And they can't terminate the lease because of the rent controls. And okay, great. So then the company goes out of business. Then there's a new owner. And guess what? The new owner can kick everybody out, remodel the building, and bring it back at 5 times the price. And then they're just rent controlled from raising the prices from there. So just like every price control, it's just going to jack up the price. So, so the idea is a bad idea to begin with, right? But then we got, once again, Biden going and trying to mandate some shit that he doesn't have a right to fucking mandate. So the market is what determines the rates, and housing is getting expensive to build, all because of Biden and his supply chain bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? You sound a little quiet today, Brad.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to. My computer is actually working now, so I'm trying to. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and a little gravelly.
Sorry, yeah.
Anyway, but the whole problem with it, it's the imposition on the fucking market again, with this guy trying to like interfere with people's rights. Now, I do see some irony in Biden pushing for rent controls, since presumably in a market where the average rent was $3,000 or $4,000 a month, he was charging $50,000 a month.
That's crazy. He's an idiot.
Well, that molds over to the Hunter Biden dramedy that's rolling off over there of him paying the illegal funds to Biden through rent. So I just think it's funny that he's got a rent scandal right now and he's trying to do rent control. Little bit of irony there, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Give me a second.
All right. Anyway, so and this is kind of, they're also talking about doing the same thing with fuel prices, trying to do rent control there. But doing price controls. The problem with price controls is what they actually do is they create a scarcity because they take away the market incentive for investment. So if you make it harder for the companies to make back their investment for building apartment buildings, they're going to build less apartments. They're going to build less houses. You're just going to cramp the market completely and not solve the problem. I actually think that doing the rent controls, all it's really going to do is increase homelessness, which I think we already have a big enough homelessness crisis. We don't need Biden artificially inflating the crisis.
No, not at all.
So, and that's what I think is going to happen. He's just going to inflate the homelessness crisis because, people are going to stop building. Now, and that's in addition to the fact we've already got a housing shortage, which is driving up the prices. And then you combine with it, we're still getting we're up to like 200,000 a month or more illegal immigrants coming into the country, and they need housing too.
Mm-hmm.
So how does he think that he's gonna push a shortage and limit a price, like increase demand and limit the price? Like, it doesn't work.
Well, what's gonna happen is he's turning all of his fucking people against that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope he plans on renting out his Delaware home for 30% under market value. Lead by example, Biden.
Not when his son is fucking charging himself fucking $49,000
And that's what I'm saying.
for rent.
If he's supposedly charging his son $50,000 a month for rent, how is he going to tell other landlords that they can't collect even market value?
No, dude. His son owns that, and his son charges his son $49,000 a month for rent. So he's claimed in the same year that he owned that house and that he pays rent for that house.
But the house is actually deeded to Biden.
Right. But in the taxes, Hunter is the one that claims it. And he also claims that he pays nearly $50,000 for rent.
Yeah, for that rent application. And then now they're trying to claim, oh, well, that's about a commercial price, and that's the price that he was paying for a commercial office. Isn't this the dude that can't pay child support for his stripper baby?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't pay his tax bills. If
don't
you have money problem, you probably don't need $50,000 a month in rent.
No. But it's weird because that amount matches some other thing. That same amount matches I put, but
It
it's
matches
all just crazy.
It matches the claim that he was having to give half the money that he was getting from these illegal business
Yeah.
deals.
No, it
Matches
matches
that.
something that they put in something somewhere else.
Yeah. So, I wonder how it compare. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is poor Hunter. I mean, it's got to be like seriously impeding his crack budget and his stripper budget. So,
Well, if you ask the MSM, he doesn't do that anymore. So
right. So, okay, so I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how the deep state's going to handle this. Like, are the Bidens going to go to jail? And which Bidens? All the Bidens?
no, nobody's gonna go to jail. Nobody ever. Nixon didn't even go to jail. And Nixon, the whole thing about Nixon was too. Like they lied to us
Yeah,
about him as well.
because
It
it was
was
all
the deep
CIA
state that
agents.
was broke into Watergate. Yeah.
Yep. And it was FBI anti-intelligence or information propaganda officer that was writing the story, Woodward, who had absolutely no journalism experience, and then just suddenly magically gets the job and starts writing articles about this break-in that was actually perpetrated by the CIA. So it's definitely interesting. So I'm just curious to see the angle that they're going to run for Biden, because obviously the Biden crime family, their days are up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but do they have the brass to just take them all out? You know what I mean? You think they'll just suicide them all? Like they were Clinton opponents?
That's too many people to all at once just decide to kill themselves for no apparent reason.
It's a lot of very high profile people to boot.
Right.
So yeah, that's my thought on that. I do think it would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the next one, since we're already talking real estate, was Bill Gates. Okay, now this was kind of old news. Everybody knows that the billionaires are gobbling up all the farmland. And we all know
China's buying up land that's near bases.
Well, yeah, that's okay. We'll talk about that too. But Bezos and Bill Gates are buying up all the farmland. Okay, so the way Bill Gates explained it was he's investing in the farm's development so they can increase production and hire more people. Okay, so he's saying that he doesn't actually own the farmland. Well, of course he doesn't actually own the farmland. If you look at what billionaires actually own, they don't really own that much. What they own is a bunch of companies, or they own one company, and that company owns 4 companies, and that company those 4 companies combined to own 50 companies. You know what I mean? It's like, did you ever go through the filings when Trump did his financial disclosures when he was running for president?
No.
I did, accounting nerd. anyway. So he doesn't own one company, the Trump Corporation. He literally owns like thousands of companies. And so like that's why it's like so hard to track down how much he's actually worth, because he owns so many companies, and then this company owns that company, and that company owns that company. Well, that's exactly what Bill Gates is doing with the farmland. I'm sure Jeff Bezos is doing the same thing. But just for the farmland that Bill Gates has in his name, he owns 242,000 acres, which is about the quarter of the size of the state of Rhode Island.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, now, and if you figure he's doing that, no, I mean, they're all doing it. All these rich fuckers are doing it. You know, it's how they keep their, I think it's how they're going to try and push their WEF agenda. So, and I think it's really telling something that Bill Gates said, I think it was in a TED Talk, where he literally said vaccines, we're going to vaccines and farming production and all this stuff that should increase life, we're going to lead to lower birth rates. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's at the head of the big push for the GMO food. He's now gobbling up farmland. Valiant Thor says, don't get it twisted. They're ditching Biden. What's happening here is they don't want Biden to run in 2024. Oh, let me put it up here. Here we go. There we go. It should show now. Well, it should be showing.
It says new comments will display here, so
yeah.
He'll have to. Oh, there we go. What is happening here is they don't want what?
Oh.
One of these days, one of those classified documents is what?
Here, I went back to the first one.
Now they're turning on him, and the nitpicking will only ramp up as 2024 gets closer. Yeah, Valiant Thor, you're right. I mean, it's hard to argue with that, I think, especially when you have an election that's coming up shortly. Yeah, Biden. The only thing that's keeping Biden in office right now, Valiant Thor, is Kamala Harris. Kamala is the only reason. Kamala is his insurance policy. That's the only reason the Dems aren't pushing to get him out right now. Otherwise, I mean, they'd be pushing for the 25th Amendment. And you haven't heard that since President Trump left office. So,
yeah, why do you think you never see Kamala and Biden together? They don't want Kamala to take him out.
they don't want her to trip him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Joe, don't trip.
You know, help him fall downstairs. Okay. So one of these days, those classified documents is gonna
walk into Rick's pawn shop in Las Vegas. That's a good one.
That's brilliant. No, that would be funny because, like, man, I seen him like pop up with some counterfeit currency and some other documents, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe he's got an unredacted version of that book that the CIA censored. So what was it, the Adam and Eve story or something like that? I tried to get you guys to read it so we could do like one show just on it because it's like freaking crazy.
Oh, that's right. Remember you saying something.
It's basically implying in the like next 50 years, the poles are going to flip and we're all fucking dead.
In the next 50 years?
Uh-huh.
How long ago was that?
No, when it was saying it was saying sometime over the course of the next 100 years, and that was 50 years ago.
Oh, okay. That's That's what I
And
was
if you
trying
look
to
at
get
what's
at.
going on, the pole is shifting towards Siberia, the North Pole, and it's accelerating. And I want to say, yeah,
Adam
there
and
it
Eve's
is.
story is close
He
to the
knows
truth.
exactly what I'm talking about, the Adam and Eve story.
Yep.
So, and then like there's been a couple of magnetic field, I don't know what you call it, like distortions, belches, whatever, where temporarily the side of the Earth was at the around the equators, like inside like the tropics, the North Pole was showing south and the south was showing north. So really weird shit going on. But oh cool. He's watching from, dude, look
Los
where he's watching
Alamos
from.
National Laboratory Isotope Production Facility.
All right.
Nice.
What are you producing isotopes for? Never mind. I don't want you to get Clinton, so don't tell. But I do consider that a compliment that we got somebody obviously on the higher end of the intelligence scale.
Yeah.
Watching.
Because we know I'm not. I talk about donkey shows and Rob and how much he loves them.
What do you talk about?
The donkey shows.
Had to do it. Anyway.
Oh, Valiant Thor, you're absolutely right. I feel left out, completely and utterly left out too. I don't have a classified document at my house. But then again, maybe if I get some lawyers over here, I might be able to find some. I don't know. So, but yeah, it's like that Oprah episode. You get a car, you get a car. Everybody gets a classified document.
Right. You get a felony. You get a felony. Everybody gets a felony.
But you're not actually going to get a felony because you're part of the government and not just a regular Joe.
Oh, but Hunter's never been part of the government yet. He obviously. So, and that was the other part of the story with Hunter, and like the emails that he was sending. Like, it's possible that the information that he was sending in the email was actually from the classified documents that were sitting in the house.
Are you surprised at any of this? Is any of this surprising? Like all of a sudden, Mike Pence has classified documents. He just like decides, oh well, maybe I might actually. Gee, we take classified documents so seriously that I don't know that whether or not I have classified documents at my house. I think I'll have some of my own lawyers go check it out.
Right. But Thor's right. The White House is officially the most expensive nursing home in America. Full-on assisted living facility.
Hey, Valiant Thor, can you go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell for us? Thanks for interacting with us. We appreciate that, man. That's good to see. It's fun when our fans are people that actually like tune into us.
Right. I'm
like
guessing
that.
he might actually be subscribed because I think I've seen him comment before. But
Yeah.
if you haven't, click it. Anyway,
hit that like button for sure and share this episode.
Okay, so man, got off track. We were talking about real estate deals. Okay. Oh, and this, yeah. So okay. So what we actually saw, nice. What we actually saw is the personally owned property of Bill Gates, but they're using holding companies. 1 out of 5 voices in his head say that Biden's a sane individual. That was freaking hilarious. So, yeah. So, now the Chinese government, like, my guess is that they own a lot too. But when you get into the WEF, okay, what are they like sitting there promoting? They don't want us to have meat anymore. They want us to eat bugs and plants.
Hmm.
Okay, so if the
Which
people telling you,
they've actually got in the EU now, cricket powder. 'Cause they're going to
mm,
start putting in flour and grain based products.
yeah, it's so fucking gross. Anyway, and then they're trying to get rid of gas stoves, which we've been using fire to cook since like the dawn of man.
Well, since man figured out how to control fire and that
Yeah.
it was good to use to eat, which was long, long time ago,
Yeah,
troglodyte.
I would make the argument when we discovered how to harness fire that that would be the dawn of mankind.
Good point. Some might say the wheel.
Nah, because mankind was up and rolling long before the wheel. Like, I mean, we were already building shelters. We were already like
Killing
transporting
things.
ourselves with animals and stuff like
We
that.
were hunting and gathering.
Yeah. So, and then we were beginning to develop a culture and pass on knowledge from generation to generation. So, I think I think mankind was well underway by then. Um, but
The spear. The moment man made the spear.
so that always reminds me of the story of Giodi when he went to the Pope and the Pope told him, draw me something to prove your worth as an artist, and he drew a perfect circle, like mathematically perfect, freehand. It's like insane, dude. Like I can spend all day trying to draw a circle and it's still gonna look like a fucking egg. Anyway, um, and I do paint, so I'm kind of an artist, but apparently I suck compared to Giodi. Anyway, um, so the
Way worse than Biden.
so all of the I just find it like highly suspicious. Well, not even suspicious. It's not even conspiratorial. So, do you know the story about the Ukrainian genocide?
A little bit.
Okay, so we've already found out, like the people who didn't know now know that the majority of, or not the majority, but a ton of the grains and stuff in the U.S. are actually produced in Ukraine, right? It's been that way for a long time, and it was that way under the Soviet Union. Okay, so Stalin wanted to de-Ukrainize Ukraine. So of course, you know what Putin's doing right now is exactly what Stalin tried to do, which was Stalin tried to kill all the Ukrainians. Putin's trying to do it too. But the way he did it was literally they grew all the grain, they took what they needed in the rest of the Soviet Union, and then they locked the storage. And if anybody tried to get into it, they shot them. And they literally created an artificial famine. They let the grain fucking rot in the silos. Well, they starved out something like 50 million freaking Ukrainians.
That sounds like Mao, dude.
Well, I mean, Mao did it through incompetence. Like this was intentional. Like he intentionally starved Ukraine when their own grain was there and could have fed them.
That sounds like something that was Mao before or after him.
Mao was after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and yeah, Mao the communist revolution in China was much later. So my concern with all these elites going to Davos, being the ones that are like buying up all the farmland and shit, is these are the people like sitting here trying to tell us that you know we can't have food, and then they go and buy all the farmland and all the sources of production. Sounds to me like they're about to cut off our access to food.
Right.
So, and that's like a really scary prospect.
Yes, we saw that, Valiant Thor. Thank you very much. I just sent you a comment as well. Oh, it looks like Rob bounced out on us for a minute. So it's just me and you, Valiant Thor. So let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about razor blades found on North Carolina gas pumps. What? This is coming from the Daily Wire. North Carolina authorities are informing the general public of a concerning development involving razor blades on the handles of gas pumps. See, this is what I don't like about the Daily Wire. They're in bed. They are in bed with big tech. There's no denying that. They're in bed with big tech. Ben Shapiro said as much when he was talking about the box set apocalypse that happened with Steven Crowder and and how he used his influence to call Susan Wojcicki and complain about what was going on with YouTube and how they were treating Steven Crowder. So the Daily Wire is in bed with big tech, okay, which is the whole point of the Crowder Daily Wire feud, okay. So, anyways, this said all of it was one word, concerning development involving, and then it was space razor blades. That's all one sentence. So whoever their editor is for these articles that they write is just a moron and doesn't catch these things when you can do, there's programs for it, spelling and grammar that would have caught this, but it didn't happen. But anyways, that's one thing that I don't like about Daily Wire, and a lot of their sources are left-leaning mainstream news sources. So, anyways, Forest City Police Lieutenant Brandon Rothrock said the sharp objects were discovered when the Department of Agriculture was conducting an inspection of the gas pumps. The inspector made us aware, he said, that he was checking some yesterday and found some in Ellenboro at a Rocco station. At a Rocco station, Rothrock said. Well, that's a lot of rocks there. So that led him to check some of our local stations, and he found one at 74 Junction. Once he found several on Tuesday, he realized it was an issue, Rothrock also said. The razors were discovered at several other sites. In an advisory, the Forest City Police Department said officers with Forest City Police Department have located multiple instances of razor blades being placed in gas pump handles in Forest City and surrounding areas. Dang, man. Guess you better check those pumps before you just start pumping your gas.
Well, I have to point out that every single time we start talking shit about the CCP during the podcast, my iPhone shits out.
Did it do it again? Is
It
that what
did it.
happened?
Completely lost signal at a place where I have strong 5G.
Did you read what Valiant Thor said?
What was the? Yeah, I can't see it because I was offline.
He said Russia does not want to be a part of the globalist agenda, the New World Order, and is fighting to defend its national sovereignty. The globalists and NATO do not want this, and so they provoke Russia to war, but in the process make Russia look like it is the one starting the war. Yeah, we're definitely in we are in a proxy war with Russia via Ukraine.
Okay.
And it all
I
started
have a little caveat on that.
with Biden. Go ahead.
So my caveat on there though is yes, Putin does not want the West in control of one world government, but they do want a one world government.
Yeah, their government.
Yeah, he wants to be in control of the one world government. If there was a one world, if every country in the world proposed we should have one world government, Putin, you'll be in charge. He'd be like, okay, dude. His war in Ukraine is about him styling himself as the next Peter the Great and trying to put back together the Russian Empire. And anybody who doesn't understand that has not bothered reading anything on Putin. The guy has been writing pseudo. Uh, historical
and intellectual papers on the topic for 30 years. So originally, they didn't need to take it over after the fall of the Soviet Union because they installed the puppets that were running all of their Soviet satellite states. Then Georgia got Machiavelli, and he started turning to towards the west. And then somebody tried to poison Machiavelli. Gee, I wonder who did that. And then they fomented secession in South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And then when Georgia was on the verge of taking back their territory, Russia went in and smashed the shit out of them. Okay? So, and then when they did the same thing in Moldova with Transnistria. They did the same thing with a little breakaway session. They're kind of hands off on it because the Azerbaijani have been blowing Putin's dick since he got in power. And they've been holding on to that little section of Armenia and kept that a hot conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan for 30 years, you know?
Right.
So, like, Putin's been trying to keep the Russian Empire together, and he's losing it because the Russian Empire was never good.
Obviously.
So,
he commented again. He said, the globalists want this war to escalate to crush the world economy, further pressing the red button of the Great Reset and strengthening the foundations of the New World Order.
Well, so the problem is ultimately war ends up being good for the economy. So I don't think that that's really part of the Great Reset. But interrupting the fuel supplies and the food supplies doesn't exactly hurt their agenda.
A lot of people are going to get great jobs over in Ukraine for about 5 to 7 years after this
more
war
like
is
20
over.
years.
After this war is over, and it's going to be all of the European people that want to go over there and help build it. But yeah, there's contracts already. I mean, just think about it. Raytheon right now is supplying the weapons for the conflict, and we know that who is Lloyd Austin used to be highly involved with Raytheon before he was part of Biden's administration. So, I mean, and BlackRock has already got contracts with Ukraine to help Ukraine. So, I mean, it's just
Right. So, Valiant Thor. So, a little perspective for you. I don't know how long you've been following our show, but I actually used to have an apartment in Kiev right across the street from the Opera House. And I lived in Akademitskaya in Moscow for 2 years. So my perspective on it is kind of from like deep inside. And it's like even in Russia, like, I mean, the perspective is changing a little bit more, but when I lived there, it was after Crimea, but they would say, you know, Russia's a free country. And you'd be like, okay, well, what do you think about Putin and Crimea? Oh, we don't talk about that. We're a free country. We just don't talk about Putin. So it was kind of like the undercurrent there. And it's kind of like the same thing now. Like, they're just not talking about the war, even though they absolutely oppose it. But make no mistake, Russia invading Ukraine was a violation of their own treaties. And they did it supposedly under the specter of NATO went back on their agreement, which is not in writing anywhere. So now on the flip side, the U.S. does have a written agreement to protect the borders of Ukraine because the U.S. and Russia were both signatories on the agreement that got Ukraine to give up their nuclear weapons, that we were going to guarantee their territory. So if we're not going to go in militarily, then we need to at least provide them arms. Nah, too much weird shit comes out of Q for me to follow that.
I was asking Valiant
So,
Thor if he did.
oh, that was you? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought that was Thor asking.
He said, "Have a blessed and productive night." So he must be leaving us.
That sucks.
Who else is watching us? I see we've got 3 viewers.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, love when people don't join us. Okay, so
Yeah.
but that does transition into the next thing going on though. You know, it's kind of funny. Up until the Ukraine war, there was a lot of talk that it was the end of tank warfare. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, you got to dig and dig and dig if you want to find anything useful, because the government isn't going to tell you what you should know and what you need to know.
And I agree with you. The mainstream media, anything that the mainstream media tells you, you can pretty much guarantee that the opposite is happening. Just like when fact checkers get involved. Which leads me to Snopes, right? We were going to talk about Snopes, right?
Yep.
Snopes, I just saw a fact check for Damar Hamlin, and this conspiracy that Damar Hamlin is actually no longer with us, but there's a body double.
He was
taking his
replaced by
place.
one of the lizard people.
Yeah. So that's. So I don't know if you could use that rule on that one, but
Well, hold on. So maybe this is part of the leftist agenda. The Hamlin clone is going to lead the push to get rid of the NFL because it's too masculine, and they want to pussify all the people so we can be good food for the lizard people. Dude, I went full bore conspiracy theory on that one.
yeah.
So anyway, so like literally somebody's proposing out. Now, was it an actual serious proposition, or was it like satire from the Babylon Bee?
What are you talking about?
The rumor that he was
Oh,
dead
that
and been
Snopes. That
replaced.
Snopes is fact checking. Yeah, I think a TikToker went viral with it, and so now Snopes is like, "Oh, that's not true," or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I
Here,
never
let
would have
me
even
see.
I never would have considered it, but if Snopes said it's not true, then I guess that pretty much means it's a fact.
Here, let me. Okay. Damar Hamlin fact check. You've just been fact checked.
So that's crazy. Oh, but
Okay, so here it is.
Since we were talking about Ukraine, I did want to talk a little bit about the tanks.
Go ahead.
So the whole tank warfare thing was supposed to be coming to an end, but this is like $1 billion industry making tanks and armored vehicles, and suddenly we have a war that's making them necessary. And then now, so it's going to create some problems though. Like, we got all these different countries are sending them different vehicles. So who's going to repair and maintain these vehicles? They might be able to teach them how to operate them, but they're not going to be able to teach them how to strip down and repair tanks in like month or 2 month long training classes that they're going to be giving them on how to operate the vehicles. You know what I mean? And so then what? We're going to start sending in our military maintenance engineers to maintain these tanks. So, and then, yeah, then we're going to be like shorting our tank supplies. Well, our chip supply is under constant threat, with China seemingly on the verge of taking Taiwan. And let's face it, all the they're starting to break ground on some chip factories here again. But those are going to take, 5 to 10, maybe even 20 years to get them all working properly. So seems dubious at best that we should be sending our top of the line tanks around the world. And I think it's gonna create resupply issues, because I think this is just this is just the first act. Russia's going out there, and I think they're getting ready to draft like 1 million people.
Oh yeah, they've already asked. He's already made that order, hasn't he? I mean, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. So
Well, no, dude, we're gonna end up getting involved. Yeah, we've already got our people over there fucking advising them, right? Sort of like training them. Now you send a bunch of fucking Abrams tanks over there, and then you tell me that you seriously believe that those Ukrainian Azov battalion motherfuckers know how to use a fucking Abrams tank, let alone know how to read English, to read the field manual, to figure out how
okay,
to operate
so
those tanks.
reading the English, that's ignorance of Americans. People in most places in the
I was
world
being
speak
I
many
was I was
languages.
being I was being hyperbolic, dumbass.
Yeah.
Jesus
So
Christ.
So I believe that they can read the repair manuals and all that. That I don't have a question about. As far as the operation of the tanks, they're talking about putting them through like an 8 or 12-week course on the operations. That I buy. I do not buy that they're going to be able to teach people how to troubleshoot them, which means
Oh
they're going to
yeah,
break down on
absolutely
the
not.
battlefield. And if the Russians are advancing, the Russians are going to capture
Well,
best map.
the first thing that they're going to teach them is how to maintain the fucking thing. That's the
But
first thing they're going to teach them.
now, you know what I do think is funny is like prior to this war, supposedly the best main battle tank in the world was the Armada, the new Russian tank, and those things have been getting blown up like fucking crazy. So that's kind of hilarious. But what, we're gonna go and like send a bunch of our best tanks in so they can get a close look at them? Like that seems like a really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like handing them over to, and if we hand them to Russia, you know, China's going to get them too, and Iran's going to get them, and North Korea's going to get them. Now, can they reproduce all the technology? I don't think Russia can, but China's really good at duplicating technology.
Oh yeah, that's why they've been stealing ours for years.
Yeah, well, and Russia's too. That's why I laugh. That's I think the fact that 90% of their armaments is based on Soviet technology is the reason why they haven't invaded Taiwan yet, because they know Taiwan's armed to the teeth with Western weaponry, and they do now know for a fact that Western weaponry is far and away superior to anything that came out of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't even know, like, I don't really even like buy about the hypersonic weapons. I know they said that they were used a couple times. Like, are they really going 5 times the speed of sound? Are they truly hypersonic? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, is this like, you know, Russian propaganda like they've always done, like going all the way back to like the 1800s, and like the way they would like literally like have their authors write books about the Kazakhs and spread it around so people would be afraid of the Kazakh armies that served the Russian Empire. You know what I mean? So like this like bragging up the ability of the Russians has been something the Russians have always done. Have we actually seen these things in operation? Are they actually functional and useful? I don't know. And when one of the strikes hit like a civilian building, when they were primarily targeting military targets, that kind of leads me to believe that they're not particularly accurate if they're actually hypersonic at all. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's just my thought. Like, do they really have it? And then, like, are we really behind in the race for the hypersonic weapons? I just don't particularly buy it. But sending a bunch of our main battle tanks over there, and like, what are we now going to start outfitting them with hypersonic weapons before we even get our own troops like outfitted with them? Like, where does it stop now? And now for me, and you know, for me saying that there's like a little extra layer on it, because I 100% support giving Ukraine anything that they need to win the war. But they need to, if they're trying to help win the war, they need to do it at a faster pace so they can end the fucking war. If they keep piecemealing it out, like, okay, you're going to give them the weapons as Russia's fixing to put another 1 million soldiers on the battlefield. Seems a little late. And like, I'm sure in Ukraine they're like, well, better late than never, but still, it seems like they're like dragging it out if they really want Ukraine to have victory. Or are they really, their goal is to basically have it be like Israel and the Palestinians, where they just keep killing themselves or killing each other for the next 50 years. You know what I mean? But like, as nasty and ugly as this war has gotten, Putin can't think for even a second that he'll ever be able to rule over Ukraine, because
he can't be thinking much longer than the next 5 months.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, but like, you get what I mean, right? Like, if he actually manages to capture Ukraine, he's going to be dealing with like nonstop insurgencies, because there's absolutely
there's no way for him not to. And he does, let's face it, from what's happening over in Ukraine, he does not have the strength to take on anybody else after Ukraine.
Right. So like, I don't think he's like this like huge like global threat that they're like trying to push him off as being. Like, that's purely erroneous in my opinion. Like,
the only way that he would be that is if he had allies come in like China, India, Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, all those people to get behind him. But so far, he doesn't have that.
I wouldn't even call India an ally. I'd call them an opportunist.
Right.
They've got 1 billion people and they need the cheap fuel, so they're gonna take it. They don't have a horse in the race, so they're gonna do what's best for their people, and what's best for their people as a developing nation is cheap fuel.
Right.
It's, another reason why the whole like green agenda is fucking stupid, because 3/4 of the population lives in poverty, and fossil fuels are their tickets out of poverty. They don't have the financial wherewithal to advance with green technology, because green technology is not cost efficient. It's ridiculously expensive to start and maintain. So they're going to be keeping going with fossil fuels. And
have you seen those new commercials on TV? Like, it's completely the opposite of pushing sustainable sustainable energy, renewable energy. It's talking about what would happen if we didn't have fossil fuels. And he's talking about the fossil fuel industry and how everything is made from fossil fuels. And if we didn't have fossil fuels, you wouldn't have shit. So people are all like putting on makeup, and as he's talking, the makeup disappears, and then fucking tires on people's cars just disappear, and fucking everything, the phones just disappear. And
oh yeah, the phones disappear, the makeup disappears, medicine disappears,
everything disappears.
You can kiss 90% of the food goodbye, because like the most effective fertilizer available is made with natural gas.
Yep.
So yeah, like pretty much everything that we have in our like modern society goes away if you get rid of fossil fuels.
Yeah, you get rid of fossil fuels, and we will be the quickest third the quickest nation to go from first world nation to third world nation. It will happen overnight, guarantee it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
But it won't happen because there's the people that actually believe in this climate change so much that it's like a fucking religion to them. Those people are the minority.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just look at it. Look every time you drive. The only people that really, really believe that way are people that drive EVs, electric vehicles, not
Yeah, but
hybrids.
okay, but the
Because
people that
hybrid,
and the people that supposedly believe in it don't actually believe in it. And fucking Davos is like a great example
well, no,
because
I
that
mean, I'm talking about like the stupid, smooth brain, ordinary people. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? The people that actually buy into this stuff and think that the people that are pushing it actually believe that stuff. Those people are what I'm talking about. You know, the people that are like, I bought a Tesla and I can drive 150 miles before I have to give it a charge, and I am just saving the planet. Blah 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 blah. As there's a bunch of CFCs running through the refrigerant used to cool the batteries and fucking provide comfort to the fucking driver and passengers.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I yeah, it's everything's a joke. Like it's
Yeah.
the whole fucking climate agenda is a joke. It's another fucking money making grift by the leftists. Just like and the funny thing is, like, you do remember, like, we got rid of plastic bags because save the fucking trees, and now they're saying fuck the trees, go with the fossil fuels, and then what's gonna be next?
Right. Well,
Now they did try and get
and
everybody
like
to
and
those
like that's
reusable
the
bags.
same thing with glass bottles too.
Yeah,
Like we went with plastic because the weight was bringing it down. And like they said they were going to be able to recycle the plastic bottles, but they can't recycle the plastic bottles. And we
yeah,
were able to
90% of them
reuse
recycle.
we were able to reuse glass bottles, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's simple enough.
Yeah, because they just smash them and then melt them back into liquid
Hmm.
and then reform them in whatever shape they needed.
Hmm.
But like 90% of plastic isn't actually recyclable.
Yeah. Which is why you have an island of them all floating out in the middle of the fucking ocean somewhere.
Well, and if you go and like start deep diving about what happens to the plastic that can't be recycled, it's all getting fucking burned in Africa
Hmm. Yeah. Just
and
like
like
that
killing
fucking
poor,
video you
impoverished,
showed.
and it's killing poor, impoverished people of color.
Hmm. But they don't care because it's not here. We don't see it, and we don't have to report on it if we don't see it.
And then of course it's making the frogs hermaphroditic,
Yeah,
turning the frogs
absolutely.
gay.
I got the proof. The proof is right here.
Exactly.
Right here. I got the proof.
Anyway. All right, man. We're up over an hour here at this point, I think. So or right at it.
Yep.
So good show today. Too bad Brian wasn't able to join us, but it was like definitely, hey guys, make sure, like, when you're watching us, make sure that you're commenting. As you see, we're like interacting with Valiant Thor there, like during his entire presence online. We like interacting with the people that follow us. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and share it so your friends see it, because YouTube has declared war on us because we're not lemmings.
And they are evil.
Yes, they are. Fucking smooth brain leftist evil retards. Like,
Libtardians.
my final thought is, are they that stupid or that evil? It's hard to believe either one could be a fact, or is it a mixture of the two?
It could be both. It could be both.
It could be. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Of course, Brad, thanks for coming on, doing the show with me. I definitely think that we're blessed to be able to do this. Thanks to, YouTube may keep banning us, but, thanks to Rumble that lets us speak freely. Shockingly, Facebook is one of our more popular platforms, and Twitter, and all these places that are actually letting us speak our mind. But fuck Bluetooth.
Yes. Bluetooth, piss off.
Anyway, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everybody. Keep it real.